How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Big C and Ashton. We are wrapping up our trip from Bay Area to Bandon to Coos and back to Portland to drop me off, to send me off for me and my wife to move to Portland, make this back our home. Really excited for it. I love the Pacific Northwest. I love Portland, and I've been back now a little over a week. I am absolutely loving it. A little rainy, still able to get some golf in. We'll get there. We'll chat about that today. What's happening, Ashton? How you been?
Good evening, sir. I was saying that it's weird. I not necessarily would have talked to you. I don't know. I just feel like I miss you, even though I feel like, I guess after spending a week with each other, I got really used to spending so much time with you. But I guess the only thing that's different is, one, your internet connection is a lot better in Portland. And two, it's a different background. But yeah, it's certainly a new chapter in some ways for this podcast. I try not to think about the fact that, we won't be teeing it up, as regularly. But I think one of the joys is, of course, we're super excited to keep doing our thing for our listeners, but at the same time, really excited to learn more about kind of Portland golf through you, and to be able to, when I do come up, which will be probably very, very often, to be able to play some of these tracks. So today, really eager to kind of talk about our last round at Rose City, really to have you give the people some great context on kind of what Pacific Northwest golf means. You shared a lot of that stuff in the car with me that I found interesting. And then, of course, eager to hear more, too, about some of the courses that you've played over the last week, because while I have spent most of the last week at the dentist, a story we will tell, not playing golf, you've kind of kept up your heater. So excited to kind of wrap up this wonderful trip. And I think hopefully people enjoy the Bandon pod and the Coos pod. The Bandon pod, we were exhausted. The Coos pod, we were drunk. And now it's just, a Monday night, and just kind of back to the normal situation with us being over Zoom. But it's certainly good to see your face again, man.
Absolutely. We need to stop the running trend of dental issues on golf trips, because it is not a cheap thing to happen after you're spending a bunch of money on a golf trip. So we need to cut that shit out.
The dentist has a lot more of my money than Bandon Dunes did.
Yeah, that's not how a trip should end.
Also, we'll talk about this, but also, who should cover this shit? Ping. I love Ping. I've always loved Ping. I like my Ping hybrid. But man, Ping, I tweeted at you. You didn't respond. I'm just saying, Ping, not tough luck from Ping.
I will say this now. I no longer work for Golf Mart, and I spoke to our Golf Mart rep that was with Ping.
Was it spoke to, or I think the verb you used, I think you said lit his ass up, I believe, right?
I actually did. And my manager got a little upset with me about how I kind of approached him about it, but I was heated. I mean, it's $250 golf bag. And I wanted something that was a 14 divider, still had stand legs, something that I could carry, put on a push cart, whatever I wanted to do. And I've always been a Ping Hoofer fan. And so
it's like the golf bag.
Yeah, I mean, it's the golf bag that all college athletes use for years. I mean, it's the golf bag that people have always carried with. It's been one of the most popular bags on the market. And so, it was in Oakland A's colorway, and I was like, this is perfect bag for me. I used it for about 6 months. And the issue with it is your clubs, as we know, and why you had some dental issues, your clubs get stuck inside the dividers, and you're basically having to yank them out with full force to even get them out of their slots. It's a horrible design, to be honest. I don't understand how that even got through the design, process, because, Ping's much better than that. I mean, their R&D on almost everything that they put their name on is, class A, top notch stuff. And that's easily the worst bag. So when I talked to the rep, I lit him up. I told him how crappy it was, how much of a waste of $250 it was, how I wasn't going to push it to any customer at all based on the situation I had. So with me not using it, it kind of just sat around. I had a kid on my golf team who was using US Kids bag. Even though I hated this bag, it's better than a US Kids bag for a high school student. So I decided I was going to donate it to him. So prior to us going on the trip, I'm basically turning into roommates with Ashton for a couple days. We take all my stuff out of my car because it's a city. They'll literally break your window and steal for a bag that says Trader Joe's on it. So you have to clear your car out or people will just break your window for no reason. So we unload my car, which is full of a bunch of random crap that I just didn't get on the truck before my wife drove it to Portland. We get it up there, and after we're hanging out for a couple hours, Ashton goes, "Hey, do you think it would be cool if I gave the kid my Nike bag and I took the Ping bag?" It's like, I don't care. A bag's a bag. Kid's going to be stoked no matter what. I mean, it's better than what he's got. And so he was sick. I've wanted something with dividers, so it's easier for me when I do a push cart. Then he takes it on the trip with us. It's all good for the most part. Well, I mean, we were either on a regular cart when we were playing Coos, we were in golf carts. So it was standing up. They're easy to get out when standing. And when we were playing Bandon, we had a caddy. So the caddy had to deal with the struggle. And, I'm sure Ashton can speak on it, but I'm sure he probably didn't even realize if he was struggling with it. So we, no issues all the way up to when we get to Portland and we get to play Rose City, which we'll get into that. Let's just finish the story. Ashton, we play the whole front nine. Did it happen? No, it happened on the front.
It was like number 4. It was really early on. So yeah, it was I think it was number 4, I believe. Par 3, doesn't matter. I hit a 7-iron. A little chunky on the front of the green. Then I go to put the club in. It doesn't go in. And then this is so annoying. You have to stand the bag upright.
Yep.
To get the club in. I go to push it down. It doesn't go down at all. I go to push down a little bit harder. The bottom of the club hits the fabric and then pops the 7-iron back up, and the 7-iron hits me right in the face. And honestly, I can't, so it broke one of my front teeth, and it took out 60% of my teeth. But after going to the dentist, I was as close as possible to hitting the nerve. Any higher, he's like, you would have been in excruciating pain. You would have just been a mess. Any higher, you would have been boned. And I got really lucky too, because while I spent, almost $1,500 between there's been more to it. There's all this drama with the dentist where it's you have to get your crown done. They only cover 50%, but he's like, well, we're gonna have to go match the colors. You should get whitening. Of course, whitening's $500. Of course, that's not covered because that's purely cosmetic, despite the fact that just all this shit. But yeah, so I think, and the thing that's important to me that I know I've said this too much, but it's important. I wasn't angry. I'm not one of those kind of golfers. I wasn't slamming my club. It was just, I was trying to just normally get my club in the bag. I was fighting a little bit. So when I say I pressed hard, I wasn't slamming my 7 into the bag. I was just pushing it down, hits the fabric, and then the head of my 7-iron pops up and hits me right on my front tooth. And honestly, it should have broken all my teeth. I don't know how it just broke this one tooth. But it was a really, I was already kind of over it. I had a lovely trip, but we had played a lot of golf, but I sort of just sleepwalked through. Then we almost missed my flight. It was just, I loved our trip so much, but my ass was so ready so ready to get home. Like I was, so the lady's like, "Would I cocktail?" I'm like, "Yeah, vodka soda, like stat." Like because I told you, I flew first class home because it was actually saved me money with my golf bag. And I was like, "Yeah, just let's keep the vodka sodas." And when the vodka sodas didn't hurt my teeth, I was like, "That's a very small consolation prize." But yeah, so just trying to put your 7-iron in the bag caused me to break my tooth. So Ping again, always thought of Ping as a class act, but fuck that golf bag. Like I'm looking at it right now. I hate it. This Friday, I'm going to go get a lesson. I'm going to go swing back by Golf Mart and I'm going to buy your exact golf bag because my one question is, does your golf clubs good? Because when I looked after the fact, I read the reviews on this bag, all these pros, right? Can you guess what the con is when my Golf Spy did it? Sometimes golf clubs don't go in the bag. What the fuck is the point? Right? It's like, I don't understand. Like, I love, storage, zipper pockets, whatever. The golf
And
clubs,
it's literally like a Swiss Army knife
bag.
of golf bag pockets, but like those don't do anything if you can't carry your golf clubs.
No.
So if the golf clubs don't go in the bag, why do I give a shit about all the pockets?
Well, and it's a walker's bag. So, like, the thing is, again, when they're standing upright, it goes in, meaning cart. But, like, that doesn't do any good because, if you're going to have a bag that's meant to be a walker's bag and a hoofer is absolutely a walker's bag, it needs to be going in at the angle that when your bag is just sitting there. So, we don't have to belabor the point. But yeah, if we had done this podcast, I'm so happy that we had pre recorded last week because I had a terrible lisp. I was in work.
He was whistling when he was talking. It was hilarious.
I had multiple, like I'm a recruiter by trade. I had multiple hiring managers who were howling, getting out of meetings early. Like my hiring manager, James, I love James, like Ashton, I love you. I don't care about your updates. If there's something I need to know, Slack me. I can't. I'm just going to keep laughing at you. We're going to call this. Also at that point, it was like 9 a.m. He's like, have you called the dentist? I'm like, no, I thought I would talk to you first. He's like, call the fucking dentist. And just like, if I need to know something, let me know. But for the love of God, call it. Like, thanks, James. Really appreciate it. I'll talk to you later. He's like, God, what a moron. And I'm like, yep, that's, that is in fact correct. So all good now. Well, not all good. I went to, the last step is they went and fit me. And then I have a fake tooth in my mouth. And then in 3 weeks, they have to make my tooth. They'll put it in my mouth. But the tooth drama, at least for right now, is over. But yeah, as a reminder, Big Chris is the one who ripped his molar out with peach rings on the last trip. So we're the dental boys now. We're the dental boys.
Yeah. So not fun. Not something you want to. At least both of them happened at the end of our trips for the most part.
Yeah, if that had happened to Bandit, it would have been a tough.
Oh, that would have been a rough break.
No.
Luckily, it wasn't. Even if it did happen at Bandit, we still would have been all right.
Yeah.
But, it's just, that wouldn't have been fun to deal with the entire trip.
But we got, look, I'm taking responsibility. We got to stop. Chris, I just realized you lost your wallet and you fucked up your tooth. I thought I lost my wallet and I fucked up my tooth.
So you did it on the same trip, though. I did mine on 2 separate trips.
I hear you. We should try to not make this a regular occurrence.
Maybe we need to stop packing so much in on one trip and spread it out a little bit so we're not constantly in a rush.
We need to get that tattooed on our forearms because we've said you can find recordings of us saying that before. So
yes.
Yeah.
We actually advise people to not do that on their trips and then we do it ourselves. So
it's like, well, if we're just going to go play Coos again, it's like, well, if we could just sneak in the preserve, it's like, well, it's a sickness, but yeah.
Well, so Rose City has a large place in my heart. When I was in Portland originally, and then also in COVID, when we came back from the Bay Area, Rose City was one of the courses that was open, allowing people to come out. They were just doing basically self check-ins online. And then you were able to go out and walk the course. They didn't have anybody really out there checking people. You just showed up at your tee time and went out and played. And, people were pretty honorable and showed up when they were supposed to and went out and played. It was great at that time. And it's one of the courses where it's probably not the most challenging course, I've ever played, but where it's located kind of in the heart of the northeast of Portland, and it being one of the older courses, also municipal owned by the city of Portland, it's just really a gem. It's always in good shape. They're putting in a lot of work right now, as Ashton got to see. Some of the greens have gotten a lot of love, and they're actually redoing a bunch of the greens. They just finished redoing the 18th, which was in immaculate shape when we went and played. And one of the holes had a temporary green, which, to be honest, hats off to the superintendent and the maintenance crew, because that temporary green was better than most greens I've played on golf courses that we were hitting onto their actual greens. It was really, really good. But what I love about Rose City and Pacific Northwest Golf is, for the most part, you're always getting lush green conditions because of all the rain, and not necessarily always raining in the Pacific Northwest. It's kind of, a false tale where people think every time you come up here, it's just constantly raining, it's gloomy outside. That's not necessarily true. The gloominess comes and goes throughout the day. The great thing with the Pacific Northwest is the climate kind of changes throughout the day. So you have, you might have a gloomy morning, but you're going to have a sunny, beautiful afternoon. And then you might have a little bit of rain roll in at night, or vice versa. It could work anyway, around that. But that's what keeps every golf course that's in the Pacific Northwest in immaculate conditions. You can go play, when you were up here with Liz, you guys played the McMenamins par 3. It's just a tiny little par 3 course. It's in incredible condition every time you go and play it. To be honest, there isn't a course in the greater Portland area that I would say isn't in great condition, because really all they have to do, kind of like what we were talking with Andre and Coos, all they got to do is mow the grass, let it rain, and they're good to go. There really isn't much that they have to deal with out here. It's, I myself am not a superintendent. I don't know what it takes to put into that, but for a course like Rose City that gets as much play as it does, and it being literally the local muni that the, local Portland, people play the most, I would say, besides Heron Lakes is another one that a lot of people play. And of course, anybody that's watched NLU, Eastmoreland is probably one of the other most popular muni courses out here in Portland. But I love Rose City for the simple fact that the people that you meet at Rose City and the atmosphere out there is just old school, straight to the point, no thrills around it, kind of golf. You pay your fabulous rate. I think on the weekends it was $40 if you're not one of the Rose City members, which Rose City members get like a bit of a discount, which I think is close to half of that.
I think it was $46, which is still great.
Yeah, $46, and I think they charged me, because I rode, I think they charged me like close to 60. So not bad rate at all, especially on a Sunday morning. But again, if you're a Rose City member, I think it's like half of that price. So, it's a killer deal. And in the weekdays at twilight, it's less than $20 if you play after 5 o'clock. It's a killer deal.
And Chris, is that being a member of Rose City, or is that the card Brad was talking about? Because we played this is also just weird. Like, Liz, my girlfriend, she posted a picture of us, and I had my no laying up gator on. He made a comment about the gator. We followed each other on Instagram, and then he's like, well, if you're ever in Portland, let me know. we played with him. So that was just really funny. And he was like super cool guy, played his ass off, shot 75, made 3 bogeys.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he took our money. It was
Well, actually, and then he
insane
wouldn't
how
take
hot
our
he started
money.
out.
Like,
Yeah,
which
such
is
a classy guy.
which maybe makes us sound scummy. I don't know if some people might.
We tried to force it upon him. He was not in a state to take
We
it.
gave him some teas.
Yeah. We were like, we'll compensate you with some municipalities.
But Brad was saying that he has some card. But I'm just curious, just so people know for
It's
listening.
same card.
Okay, so
I'm not.
It's good outside of just Rose City.
Yeah, so it works with 5 different courses. It works with both the courses at Blue Heron. It works at Eastmoreland, Rose City, and to be honest, off the top of my head, I don't know what the other 2 are. But they only sell a limited amount of them per year.
Oh, he said they're sold out.
And that's why I asked Brad, I was like, do you know if they're still selling those? And like, nah. I mean, they sell out immediately at the beginning of the year.
Why do you think they what is the rationale behind those selling out?
I think it's because it's such a good deal that it's a killer deal. You pay a pretty substantial amount up front for them. I think it's, I don't want to quote myself, but I think it's like $600 or more dollars. Like it's pretty hefty, but it lasts for the entire year. And 18 holes during the weekdays are like $20-$25. You get half rate on carts as well. And then you get a whole bunch of other discounts and stuff like that. I don't know the entirety of the deal. I know it's just an insane deal. Everybody I know that golfs a lot in Portland usually have those cards. So the rest of the year, I'm going to be kind of missing out on that since I'm kind of late to get on that boat. But yeah, that's kind of the sick deal. To have that, you're going to get a solid deal on about 5 different courses, and they're all really, really good too. So, but yeah, Rose City, pretty out in front of you. It's a lot of dog legs, old school kind of track. Tree lined. That's another Pacific Northwest thing. I would say 75% of the courses out in the Pacific Northwest are going to be heavily evergreen, pine tree, redwood, tree lined fairways. So the one thing you will learn to do in the Pacific Northwest is hit it straight and hit the correct distances. Especially with the older courses like Rose City, as you witnessed, like you rarely take a driver out on a lot of those dogleg par 4s because the trees are so old and grown in. It's not like you can take a Bryson line and try to hit it straight over a lot of them. There are some elevated tee boxes that do give you decent looks if you have a high ball flight with your driver, but the majority of them are going to be, 5 wood, 3 wood, whatever you hit between 230, to 250 dead in the middle of the fairway, and then hit it in from there.
Yeah, I think that after all the golf we played, it was really appreciated just because I think that what was really special about this one, I don't know necessarily if you planned it this way, but this trip more than anything else felt like chapters, right? Where it's like Bandon, obviously I'm not trying to compare Sheep and Bandon because we've already talked about that. They're not the same, but sort of the resort, top of the line experience, which was fantastic. And then Coos, which I would probably say Coos was more like Rose City than I would say it's like Bandon. Better conditioned, but
yeah.
But still sort of, it's not fair to say like a hybrid, but like kind of in between-ish. And then you had Rose City, which was, to your point, it even it rained a little bit, super like lush. So it was really cool to kind of get 3 extremely different experiences and just to try different things because, but I will say the common thing on this trip outside of Sheep Ranch, this was definitely a golf trip where if I was to say what was the most important thing, it was your tee shot. Like Bandon, if you were not hitting the ball off the tee well, you're going to get punched in the face. Coos, punched in the face. And like Rose City, same thing. Just like punched in the face. So it was definitely a golf trip that if, again, from a shot, kind of like you needed to be hitting it, to your point, not murdering it, especially from the tees we played, but you needed to be 220 to 250 just on the planet, or else you're going to have a really tough day. And Rose City, I mean, I think the other thing which it really embodied to me is a lot of what you've told me, where it sounds like Portland golf to me that's so foreign, is the fact that there is so much public golf, the fact that it is so affordable, the fact that it is so well conditioned. Because again, my perspective is coming from Atlanta, where most public golf sucks. Again, the one place you can turn River Pines, $45. We'll play there. Again, it's nothing amazing, but like the fact that we hold River Pines to this esteem, like River Pines is probably very similar, and like not from a tree standpoint, but like River Pines is to Atlanta what Rose City is to Portland. But we hold it in such high regard because it's kind of one. You guys have a lot more. It's a lot more affordable. So I definitely kind of understand from a golf perspective. I mean, I love the diversity in the Bay Area, where we can go from Bodega Bay to Carica and have two totally different experiences. It sounds like Portland golf, I don't mean this the way it's going to sound, but might be a bit more homogenized, where there's a lot of trees, it's a lot of lush. Like there's a certain type, but man, for the quantity and price you have, I might pick that over like, cool, like there's a lot of options, but also Bodega Bay to Calipe, it's like with traffic, that's 3 hours. Like that's like you're on the moon, right? So like, yes, there's diversity, but it tends to be really crowded and really expensive. And there's a whole bunch of variables that it feels like Portland golf, it's kind of all right in front of you from a course perspective. And I only have one bite at the apple, but from what you've described and what I saw, it sounds like a great place to spend a lot of your golf, minus, the couple of times a year when it might be too cold, but it sounds like a great place to play your golf.
Like on our trip, how I would explain it is we played link style at the beginning. We had mountain course with Coos. I mean, as close as you're probably going to get before you get into actual mountains, because of the elevation changes and the way that the course is set up. It feels very much like you're playing in Apple Mountain, or, out in Dark Horse, or any of those out in the Sacramento area in the foothills. Very similar to that kind of feel with Coos. And then you've got your very much Parkland inner city golf course with Rose City. So we really got to experience, and that's kind of how I would explain basically the golf that you'll experience along the top part of Oregon. So you go from, like, let's say Gerhardt, Astoria, North Highlands, Manzanita out on the coast. You're getting a little bit more inland style, link style golf. But then, a little bit more, on the ocean front, you can smell the ocean a lot of those areas and on those golf courses. And then you get into kind of a prairie like area when you come into Forest Hills and Beaverton, that kind of area. And so you've got Pumpkin Ridge and Meriwether and places out there that's very flat. I mean, you have literally no elevation change on a lot of those courses. Pumpkin Ridge has a little bit, because it's kind of built up in a little bit of mountainside, but they're fairly flat courses. There's not a lot of elevation changes out there. And then the more you get into Portland, again, you're getting all Parkland style courses, other than probably Heron Lakes in the northern part of Portland. And then Wildwood, which is going to be a little bit more mountain style. Tons of elevation change on that course, but it's kind of tucked up on a mountainside, like a hillside, just out, on your way outside of Portland. And
did the No Laying Up guys play there? Is that where
they did? Is
that the one where one of the new guys was like 8 under through 10? I think so.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sick course. I'm actually playing it on Wednesday.
Oh, sick. You'll have to tell me about that next week.
I will. I'm really excited to go out there and play it again, because I've only had one crack at that course during COVID times. So I'm really excited to get back out there again. They have a sick new logo of a Sasquatch. Real. Probably it might be the best logo in the Pacific Northwest. It's incredible. It's real good. So stoked for that. I might have to pick up a hoodie or something. Don't tell the wife. But then you get into like the Mount Hood area, and you've got all these mountain style golf courses, a lot of courses built on the Willamette River out there, and it's really, really neat and different. And the style of golf that you can have within, 100-mile distance from basically mountain to coast, it's pretty insane. It's very different than the Bay Area, I would say, just also because of the climate. Everything is lush, everything is green all the time. The more inland you are, the less wind you're going to deal with. When you do get out on the coast, you're going to deal with some crazy, crazy wind, which again, if you play in Monterey, you're used to that as well. Or if you play in the city like you do at Presidio and like we experienced before we left to go on the trip. Sorry, that was all over the place. We dealt with like 25-mile-an-hour winds at Presidio. It was freaking nuts. But the Pacific Northwest is hard to explain because it is just so good. And what I think I said to you was Rose City, to me, is actually probably on the lower spectrum of courses in Portland, which from your experience you had, I mean, that's nuts because it is probably right in the middle if you threw it in the Bay Area.
Well, I mean, I think the way I would describe Rose City is just solid. Like, it's I don't like using this too much because I feel like it's a bit of a trope, but it falls into that bucket of like, if someone was like, hey, you just got to play Rose City. Like, Rose City is going to be the course where you play most of your golf. I would neither be like over the moon or bummed. I'd be like, okay, no, that's cool with me. Like, I'm not going to break the bank. It seemed like a really good community. The clubhouse kind of felt sort of like a gingerbread house. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, it's
old, little decrepit, needs a little work.
Yeah. Like the locker room looked like it had been there literally forever.
And it has. I mean, that place I doubt has been touched since the 30s.
Yeah, but there's sort of a charm to that, right? I think that there's like, and I think the other thing too it's just a sample size of one, but the fourth guy we got matched up with was this older gentleman who was, played fast, wasn't great, didn't hit it very far, but like was perfectly fine to play with. Really, the only gripe I have with him is he kept talking about how they're gonna have to rip my tooth out, which did not happen. I told the dentist that, and the dentist was like, was he like a dentist or any background? Like, he said he was a PA, and my dentist was like, yeah, PAs don't deal with teeth. I don't know why he was telling you that. So in that sense, if you're listening, which of course you're not, please don't tell that to the next person who punches himself in the face with the 7-iron. But you could tell that guy had played there a bunch and knew what he was doing. And like, I bet there are a whole bunch of people who play that golf course 6 times a week. And those places, I think, are special because there is a real sense of community and, knowledge and passion that comes out of places like that, because they're just places that literally foster community because people are playing. Like, I bet that guy plays there 100 times a year, probably. I know he has the Portland card. Like, the guy we played with probably plays there 100 times a year, and I think that's really cool.
Well, and that's kind of what the great thing. So Rose City is a golf course that does not have a driving range. They have a small little putting green just to the right of the clubhouse, and that's it. Gas golf cart. And I think they were electric, but I mean, they don't even have somebody attending the golf carts. Like, they just literally say they're out there, grab one. It's one of those courses where 2 older guys are working the pro shop. They'll check you in real quick. They'll get you on the course, and there's no starter, but everybody that comes out there to play is on point, and they're right on time. We had guys right up on us waiting on the tee box right after we teed off, and it was like 1 minute after our tee time. It's one of those courses where people want to get a 3.5 hour round in. They're not looking to dilly-daddle out there. Like, they're not looking to just, hang out. Like, it's one of my favorites because if I'm just trying to get out and play some golf and, no frills, but great greens, great, environment, fun, beautiful walk in the park, Rose City is always a guarantee there. I mean,
Chris, you said something I thought was interesting because, you know, on the first hole, the gentleman we were playing with made a comment that they were slow. And I was like, kind of to the point about Andre, I was like, oh, they should cut them. And you actually said, you're like, you know what? Like, guys like him, even though he made the comment about them being slow, to your point, he was like, they probably keep them that length on purpose, right? Like,
Yep.
They're not trying to have like a 13 stint meter racetrack. It's like, we're just going to build a golf course that if you just like throw a dartboard, it's like this golf course is meant for like a 13 handicap, right? You can be a 6 and play there. You can be a stick and play there. You can suck and play there. But it's like a golf course where it's like, it's a 12 handicap golf course. Does that make any sense?
No, absolutely. And that's what it is. Because a guy that's a weekend warrior and might get out once a week that also doesn't hit the range and practice and things like that, this is the golf course for you. You love golf, but you can't get away from your family. You can't, do all these things, but you want to get out and play once in a while. It's the perfect course for you because you're not dealing with putting off the green because they're running at a 12 or 13 stint. I mean, they were probably running at an 8 or 9. They weren't running quick at all, but they also weren't running dead ass slow because they are fairly heavily sloped on a lot of the greens. So if they did dial them up to 11,
I missed a lot of 4-footers. Yeah.
I mean, they would, in the 4-footers were falling a good, 1 to 2 feet right to left or left to right. They weren't, that's the thing. It's like, if you dialed those greens up and people that came out there that were 12, 13 handicap playing at a regular time, often they just wouldn't enjoy themselves out there. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be fun. So that's why I said, like, this course is built for the mediocre golfer. It's in great shape. The tee boxes are flat. Just like all munis in Portland, the greens for the most part are all turtle-backed because that's the way that a lot of the older, golf course designers were able to combat the rain in Portland, was to be able to create a turtleback green to allow the water to drain off at all sides. So when you play some of the older tracks in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to come across very small greens that are all turtle-backed, which they're redoing a little bit of the greens at Rose City because they are changing the actual grass on a lot of the greens and, making them a lot better, adding more sand in the greenside bunkers. They're doing great work on the greens in the complexes out there, but they are now you can tell they're adding new drainage. So the undulations on 18, which was the newest green that they finished, we could really tell it was completely different playing than all the other greens on the course.
Yeah.
For the most part, the greens were all 3-point star shaped or they were circular, and they all rolled off, like I said, turtleback style. Where 18 had undulations coming up off the bunker and, rolling front to back. And
it was noticeably different.
Noticeably different. So I'm hoping they don't change too much of what the character is, because I really enjoy going out there and just hitting small targets, hitting smaller greens. I think it makes you better when you go out and play those larger tracks with the large greens like Rustic Canyon or out in Bandon, where you could have a 60-foot putt and it's like, that's a legit 60-foot putt and you're still not even close to off the green at that point. So I really appreciate it with Rose City, the smaller greens like that. And again, the conditions, the people you meet. The hot dog is solid, probably a good 5 out of 10. It was a little early for us, so I wasn't in the hot dog mood. And if you're ever in Portland, this is a treat you must have. And this is a pro tip coming to Portland. Fuck Voodoo Donuts. Fuck them. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. I know Ashton actually thinks they're decent. But
they're just
they're okay donuts. It's funny because you can get a penis-shaped donut.
Well, okay, and you can I don't want it to be tied to I like them with a penis-shaped donut. I mean, if you like penises,
But do you?
I like donuts. No, but okay. Let me say my take real quick.
Cream filled.
Okay. Okay. We're just gonna keep on rolling here. So I guess when I think Pips is its own thing, you'll talk about this. But like I'm saying, I prefer more of the glazed donut with chocolate that's like that's like $1, as opposed to like the other thing when I went there last time, everyone's like, you got to go to Blue Star. It's like, yo, I don't want a cayenne peanut butter gluten-free donut that's $4. I'd much rather have a donut with Fruit Loops on top that cost me $1.50 than I would. But again, no one ever told me to go to Pips. I prefer Pips. I'm just saying, like, give me Voodoo over Blue Star. I don't want a bougie $5 donut. I want 6 donuts in a box that cost me $6. Like Bob's here in San Francisco. It's not the best. Like, yeah, the crumb cake donut's okay, but like they're just standard donuts. They don't cost you like a bajillion dollars. That's my take, not the fact that it has penis.
Well, Pips is not very expensive. I will say that. I would say yes.
I mean, it's not.
I'm with you on the blue. It's
you
it's
got
in the middle.
You got it. I mean, it's like a 1-bite donut, and a dozen's like $10. Like,
But
they sell
cake
chai
donuts
tea.
too.
Like that place, Pips is pretty bougie. It's way better than Blue Star, but it's also pretty bougie, right? You got a $6 chai drink. Your donuts and coffee, your donuts and tea was like $16, wasn't it? Right? I'm not trying to rip you. I spend money on shit all the time.
Nah, it was about 12.
It was $9.95 for 12 donuts, and you got.
I didn't get 12.
You did.
I got 8.
Okay, my bad. But the tough look for Pips though is they fucked up your favorite donut.
Oh yeah, that was the one disaster. So
well, tell me about Pips. We're jumping into
tip,
penis donuts and cream filled. You tell the story.
So pro tip, I prefer not to waste your time with Voodoo Donuts. Blue Star, same take as Ashton. Overpriced for what it is. It's just not worth your time. $5 for one donut is freaking ridiculous. But Pips is sick. So Pips, we actually hired their food truck to come to me and my wife's wedding. And we had that as dessert instead of cake because we loved it so much. So Pips basically cooks little mini cake donuts fresh to order and has some awesome flavors that you can order with like Nutella, raw honey, and sea salt. My favorite is candied bacon dolloped on top of the donut. It is chef's kiss, amazing. They had, I think, coconut custard. They changed the one flavor every season depending on what's in season or what they decide they want to concoct. And so Ashton checked out the coconut custard, said it was very nice, very delicious. I am not a coconut fan, so I stayed far away from the coconut custard. So I ordered you can either order 4-piece, 6, 8, or 12. So Ashton, I think, went with a 6-piece. I went with a 8-piece, and you get to pick however you want to have in the box. So you could have one of every flavor, or just one flavor for everything. So I always get at least half of them as my favorite in the candy bacon. I was so upset. I could already smell before we were ordering kind of a burnt bacon smell. And I kind of just ignored it because I didn't want to really think that it was what I thought it was. So I ordered my normal order, 4 candy bacons, 2 Nutellas, and 2 sea salt with honeys. We wait in line. They have us all do this weird like separation shuffle in these 4 corners. We get ours. We get in the car. We start heading over to Rose City. I pop one of the candy bacons in, and it is the worst burnt bacon taste I've ever had. To be honest, I'm not gonna shit you. I've probably eaten a couple hundred donuts from this place, and
They
you
catered
can
your
tell
wedding. They
catered my wedding, and I've never had a burnt bacon version of their donuts. Like I've never experienced it. I don't know if it's new people because they couldn't get the old crew to come back from COVID. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and all the excuses possible because I love them so much. But it was dog shit. I was so mad that half of my donuts were the candy bacon because I basically suffered through 2 of them.
Yeah, because I just got one because like that's not really my vibe. The Nutella one was my personal favorite. They were all good minus the candy bacon, but the Nutella one was fantastic.
And if you want to go wild and you like multiple flavors, they have one called a Dirty Woo as well, which is every single flavor that they offer on one donut. So
you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, they had it on the board.
No, I didn't see that. Well, maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, they have it on the board. It's one of their specials, but it's not my favorite. It's a little too much overload, in my opinion. Having them separated is much better. But enough of the donut talk. I could talk food in Portland all day because in
Should
my
we talk
opinion,
about how we went and ate and then we almost missed my flight? And I actually realized I haven't even told you this. I know for a fact a pair of socks, my boxers, sweatpants, and my sweatshirt is sitting over your left shoulder on top of a box because that's the stuff I was going to put on when I showered. And basically we spent about 60 seconds at Chris's apartment while I was chucking things into my bag. And we sprinted out of Chris's apartment because we were watching the Women's Open. We got a little food, we got some sour beer. And I was like, didn't we want to leave at 5:15? And it's like, oh, yeah.
Dude, how good is Cascade though?
It was great. I mean, now that I've got a tooth and I'm back home, we can talk about it. Yeah, the peach Bellini sour was fuego.
Yeah, and I had a sour beer slushy.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
That was revolutionary. I've never experienced anything like it. It was
well, the best was I watched you order the slushy. And then it came and it was a slushy. And you looked at it and looked at me and looked at it and looked at me. And then you took a sip and you're like, it's a slushy. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, you ordered that. But like I could watch it just like blowing your mind.
I just thought it was like the flavor profile. Like they were just like, oh, it's a strawberry lime slushy like flavor.
No,
and
literally.
Like, oh, okay. No, it literally was a slushy out of a slushy machine.
Yeah.
It was
pretty
so
awesome.
Good though. Yeah. And if anybody's in Portland, you want a good sour, this place has it all. It's got 10-year-old barrel-aged sours all the way up to a Bellini sour. I mean, you can get pretty much anything, and they've usually got a stacked roster of different things that they've got on tap. And their side food was really good.
Yeah, I think I got mushroom gnocchi, roasted Brussels sprouts, and both were fire. Really, really good.
Yeah, I heavily recommend Cascade. If you're in that area too, I mean, Rogue is right around the corner. Modern Times is just 1 block away. It's kind of a little gem. And then you head up the northwest of Portland, and that's where you've got Breakside and a lot of the other big breweries out that way. I love
Breakside. That's one of my favorites.
One thing you didn't even know, which I wish I knew. Geez, I just can't speak today. Knew was when we went to McMenamin's for dinner the first night we got into town, Breakside is 5 blocks the opposite way.
Oh man, that would have been awesome. That's like one of my favorite breweries I've ever been to.
And they had an awesome me and the wife went out there for lunch, and they had an awesome outdoor area that they had set up.
Next time.
Yeah, for sure. But Breakside is freaking sick.
Hell yeah.
So we'll definitely have to do that. That's one of my favorite places as well.
That's awesome. Well, Chris, to round this out, that's kind of the end of our trip.
It was epic.
It was epic, and I can't wait to do the next one. But also too, just like
it's gonna be a while though. I think we both need to take like a breather. But the next one we're flying. So next trip we're gonna do what I think I've mentioned in other pods. But we're gonna have a new little travel series that we're gonna start doing, where we're literally going to find the cheapest flight to a random city throughout the United States. We're going to fly there for a 3-day weekend trip. So basically leave on a Friday morning, come back on a Sunday afternoon or night. We're going to play as many local tracks as we can fit in. Of course, like we just said, we're not going to try to stack ourselves and kill each other, but we're going to at least try to get at least 2 to 3 courses in if we can. And so that's going to be our next, great expedition there. We've got some fun pods coming up as well that we're working on that are in the books. So look out. We've got some great content coming our way. We're not stopping.
Well, there's one thing, because I know a lot of our listeners are probably also, fans of other content such as No Laying Up. Can you give the listeners though, because the way you just described that, it literally sounds like Strapped. Like, how are you envisioning this being different from like No Laying Up's version of Strapped?
So really for us is this is kind of all inclusive. So with Strapped, they give them a $500 budget for the golf and for staying expenses. For us, it's going to be, airfare, car rental, staying, golf, food, everything included for under $500. I might push it to $6 just to kind of give us a little leeway in there. But what it really is, I want to showcase to people that if you want to go and have an awesome trip, experience new places with your friends, do these buddy, experiences, that you can do it on a budget. There's no reason that you have to go to Abandoned Dunes or you have to go to Pinehurst, do any of these gigantic resorts that are going to literally force you to save sometimes for years for some of our, listeners and things like that. I want you to be able to go, shit, let's fly to Missoula, Montana, or let's fly to, Boise, Idaho, and, find the local courses out there, experience something different and have a great time. Because to be honest, you don't need to be at a resort. You don't need to be in Vegas. You don't need to be in Palm Springs to have those experiences. Sometimes some of the best stuff that we do on our golf trips is find the random local, bar or burger spot and just stop in there and see what's up. Like, I think one of the best experiences me and you have had playing together is after we finished Northwood, we found this weird little drive-in burger and shake spot that, to be honest, might have had some of the top 5 fucking burgers I've ever had.
They also gave us literally as small as 5 pounds of fries. What we'll do when we post this episode, incredible. I took a picture. It's a superhero guy and he has a burger head. We'll post the picture on social media because it honestly makes you kind of feel uncomfortable, but it's also kind of I almost wanted to buy a t-shirt. Yeah, I think this is not good radio. I think it was called Sequoia Burger or something like that.
It was in Sebastopol, right inside Sebastopol.
Sebastopol, yeah, because we had just driven by that golf course, and you were like, "I have to play there at some point." I'm like, "Okay, dude, I just want a burger. I'm about to rip my eyeballs out."
Yeah, but that place was freaking awesome. But those are some of the best experiences you have. And to be honest. Yeah. When you go to random places, that's what you have to do. You pull up Google, you type in restaurants, and you just scroll through the listings of what's available in town.
Well, and I think the big thing, Chris, just because I don't want listeners getting their ass, so No Laying Up also includes food. So it's similar. But I think the big thing from talking to me and you is, and I love this, No Laying Up is intentionally doing Strapped to exhibit places where we don't think of golf. That's not what we're trying to do. We just want to go play golf. We want to have as many golf trips as we can, knowing that we both have we're not independently wealthy. We don't have a bunch of money. We want to go on golf trips. And I can tell you, we won't comment on the number, look at the receipts from Bandon. Can't do that often. Just can't do that often. Right. So for us, I know it's, people are like, I don't see how this is different. I understand where you're coming from. No laying up is just trying to exhibit, of course there's like a fun shtick with it, but it's really like, okay, you don't think about golf in New Orleans. Yeah, like if there's dope tracks somewhere and like we can get to Salt Lake City for $30, like we care about the fact that it's $30, not that it's Salt Lake City. And honestly, we're excited to tell you about those courses, but we're not going there because Salt Lake City is not a destination. We're going there because we can get there for $40 and also play some dope tracks. So we're really trying to do it for the everyman in the sense of like, to your point, we're trying to exhibit that you can go on a golf trip with 3 days. You can go on a golf trip for a couple $100, including airfare and everything. It's just, so I know it's similar, but that's also the approach we're coming from, of really trying to make it where, in a loving way, none of y'all have any excuses for not going on some of these golf trips on your own. We're no laying up as like, let's show you Iowa. We, once we have the resources to show you guys videos and stuff where we're going, we're excited to do that. But that's not really the point of what we're doing. Is that correct, Chris? I don't want to speak.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely it. And so they have a $500 budget specifically for when they get to the city. Basically, It includes everything besides rental car and flights.
Yeah. And who knows, Big Randy could be, or they could be flying first class. Who knows? Like,
yeah,
I'm not trying to drive by shoot.
What's going on there?
Who knows?
And I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to be the person to say that I am a glorious genius that came up with this idea. Of course, there was a little inkling coming from, the influences that we have throughout other social media platforms that are in the same median as us. So I can't say that I didn't see that and go, hey, we can kind of spin off of that and do something similar, but also showcase what we do. And what we do is show people how to have fun out on their local public tracks and do it on a budget. That's really what we're all about. And of course, occasionally we're going to sprinkle in there some of the occasional insane trips, which next episode, what you guys are going to hear is something that most people might not be able to afford, or you might have to save up to do. And our next episode is going to be a showcase on one of the all-time best tracks in the Bay Area, might also be one of the best tracks in the country. You could even stretch it to one of the best tracks in the world, Pasatiempo. And we got the pleasure to play out there prior to going on our trip. It was the first kind of, first of last golf courses that I got to play before everything, occurred, before we played Presidio and I had my last match with my kids and we headed on the road. So, it was an absolute pleasure to play with producer Jack in Ashton. So keep an eye out. That's going to be week after this airs. We are going to have a showcase on Pasatiempo. So, but again, what we're trying to showcase here in the new, trips and things we're going to do are going to be affordable golf trips for everybody. So I'm really fucking stoked on that. We're going to get it going probably sometime in July. Both of us need to take a little bit of a rest when it comes to trips and things like that. I got to get some things figured out and unpacked and everything here in Portland. So keep an eye out. We're always going to have a pod ready for you guys every week. That's never going to stop. That's our goal from here on out. And it's our goal from when we started. So.
And one thing to note, we actually got some pretty good feedback, but we also just wanted to acknowledge the Bandon pod, and I know the Coos pod, those were our first podcasts ever live, not over Zoom. Like, very honestly, I thought that the podcast in person would be awesome, and they were, but there is something that's really nice about the quality of, Zoom and kind of it's just a lot cleaner from our apartments. So if there was any like behind the scenes, like literally we were both like sitting on the beds with the mic on the chair and in a $89 a night motel, 2.5-star motel. So we both apologize for any background noise that might have came through on those pods. But also shout out to producer Jack for making it sound as good as possible. And what you heard in the Coos in the background was we were doing it in the clubhouse, and I realized that was the refrigerator. So
ice machine, something coming right out of the kitchen.
So I know as someone who consumes a ton of podcasts that may have been kind of a bit jarring, we apologize. We're going to try to, as this question mark becomes higher budget, we'll try to find ways to make the quality sound even better. But just wanted to acknowledge it, because if you're sitting there being like, is that them banging on a bottle? It's like, yeah, it was 1 a.m. and you heard my water bottle creaking because I was parched, and yes. So we just wanted to acknowledge it. But once again, thank you guys for all the support we've gotten. I think a lot of people enjoyed the Banjan one, and I think we were really kind of proud of we're really happy with kind of how the Coos one came out, just mainly because hopefully you could tell in our voice. We really love those guys, Andre and Paolo.
Yes.
We really love that golf course. And I think that when I texted, my dad about the podcast, I was like, if you I'm sure we'll do other cool stuff, but this is why we started this. We would never have met Paolo. We would never have had that experience with those amazing guys at that amazing course at MuniciPals. And so, just really appreciate people reaching out and kind of giving a tip of the cap there, because we love doing it. And again, we just really appreciate y'all's support, because we couldn't do this without y'all's support. And it's just great to be on this journey.
Really, really appreciate it, guys. One thing is we did get some information through email today that I actually got through our Gmail. We moved up a bit in the rankings in US and Canada. So I can't stress to you guys enough how much we appreciate all of our subscribers, everybody that listens week in and week out, because we do put in a lot of work to continue the content, to continue to have things to talk about, and to record these every single week in and out. And again, we cannot do this without producer Jack as well. I mean, I can't stress that enough. The dude, I slacked because I was in the middle of moving and we were on this trip and everything. And I got in both of those pods, the episodes, within 24 hours of them needing to be posted. And he stayed up, worked through it, got them done and got them posted. I know one of them was a little late because he was having some technical difficulties with his computer, but he had it finished. It was ready to go. So we love Jack. He's absolutely a member of the MuniciPals. He's our third wheel. And, this push cart couldn't work without a third wheel. So
I was going to say, I think Jack is actually the front wheel, and we're the two small wheel. We're the two small wheels on the side.
Yep. So can't do this without our subscribers, our listeners, and our boy Jack. So thank you guys again. Listen to next week. We love you. Take care.
Peace.